It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again, time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 344. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashkar. Kodra.
Hello.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hi there.
We are down a Grace, and it's probably, the trauma of her having to be first in the list last week.
Yeah.
It's hard to be first, because, you miss out on, the shtick sometimes.
No, being first means you get to make the shtick.
That too.
Well, I guess.
I would also choke at trying to do a shtick if I were the first one. It is perfectly fine, Ammo.
See, I'm just always last. I'm fine with that. unless Warren shows up.
Right, and then
Throws everything off.
Not having Ash in the mix, though, is always messed up, because, one of us has to say, see ya. And then the last time Ash was in, I said see ya, since we hadn't had him for a few weeks. Idiosyncrasies. So, Ash, what the hell is this first topic?
I am curious about this first topic.
Sure.
I don't think anybody's particularly surprised.
No, we're not going to argue this point.
I'm just curious where it's going.
Furry, and I feel like the response is, well done.
Yeah, no, duh. You're a bear.
Yeah.
My icon for the podcast is a bear. In any MMO possible, I choose the animal person race.
Yes, you play bears and big fuzzy cat people and the like. Yeah.
You also greatly enjoy all the games that have anthropomorphic animals in it.
Really looking forward to Chicory soon.
Yep.
Really looking forward to Ratchet & Clank, I imagine.
Biomutant as well.
I would like to get a PS5 at some point before I start looking forward to that game.
I just got one this last week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which is good because we're going to talk about a game that I think Ash and Kodra and potentially Tam would like. So, yeah. Anyway, continue, Ash.
This is one of those really obvious things I've never actually said before.
It's the actually saying it out loud thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear that.
Anyway, on to the rest of the show.
Okay. Ammo. I have heard a little bit about this, and I am not sure what's going on with it.
All right. So Genshin Impact has had its 1.5 update this week, and in it they introduced a new weekly boss. They introduced the Cryo Hypostasis Cube, and they introduced the Serenitea Pot, which is Genshin's housing system.
Serenity Pod.
Serentea Pot.
Every other game is going to have housing before World of Warcraft gets around to it.
Yeah.
Wait.
Hold up.
Yeah, say this one again, because I feel like I'm
the Serenity Pot.
Serentea Pot, yes. Okay. So in the world of Genshin, some of the magical creatures, yes, it's a teapot, because we've seen before that some of the magical beings can use teapots for abodes, and you finally get one of your own.
A teapot of your very own.
And but wait, it's called I kept getting confused because it's
Serenity, like serenity.
Like the word serenity. Okay.
Yes.
Reniteea.
Yeah.
I'm so angry.
It's very funny.
I'm curious about the localization of this and how they are doing it in other languages.
Yeah, I don't know, but we got Serenity, so
well, and it's not just like a house. It's basically the Animal Crossing island, isn't it?
Yeah, you start out on one area, and as you increase what they call your trust rank inside your teapot, there are other areas you can unlock. There are 3 default choices you can make. You can kind of have the floating islands look like some of the domains have, or you can have a nice waterside one, and there's a mountainous area. But basically you start with a big chunk of land, and you got to raise up your rank, and then you can unlock other areas. But
Is this inside the teapot?
Yes, this is inside the teapot. It's like a TARDIS.
Yeah,
Bigger on the inside.
There's a quest line at one point where you meet an old woman and she has a teapot,
Yes.
and you end up having to go inside it, and that's
And it starts with her.
Yeah, she's the one that gives you your teapot. So, but so you can now gather wood in Genshin, which is basically just taking your favorite Claymore user and whacking at trees for a while.
Can you use bombs? Do bombs work?
I don't have Klee, so I don't know.
Oh man, I will have to test this. I reinstalled Genshin earlier when I saw this topic because I had gotten kind of a hint about it, but I will see if I can bomb trees into submission.
Yeah, you can use one-handed swords, claymores, and pole arms. It's just pole arms are a little maybe harder to aim with a tree, but I just like use D-Luke and just kind of go to town.
Still jealous you have D-Luke.
Yeah. It was unexpected, but I'm pleased that I have D-Luke finally. It only took months. But so you craft your furniture. So it unlike some like 14 Final Fantasy 14, you have like a hard item limit. But in Genshin you kind of have like points. So the more blueprints you know is like it increases the amount of points you can have, and like each piece of furniture has like a set amount of points, like a rock or a tree is maybe 20 points. But if you want to place something fancier or an animal, because you can get dogs and cats and boars and stuff, they're like 100 points. But it took me a while to hit the cap that I was currently at, and I was able to kind of plunk down a whole bunch of stuff on the outside of my island. Because, you get your island, you also get a house, so you can furnish the outside and an inside of a house. So there is a little teapot spirit who is named Tubby, who is your NPC for guiding you through your crafting and where you gather your realm currency, which is like the new currency that you use to buy stuff at the Realm Depot through Tubby. Yeah. And you can buy blueprints, and also as you unlock stuff, they have like the Adventurer's Hand Guide at the beginning of the game where you can go through that and they give you rewards. They have one like that for housing, which gives you like blueprints and stuff like that too. So it's actually not that hard to kind of get it like started. You got to go through the quest, and they kind of give you a bunch of stuff, and it's just more like you want to make one of everything because that adds to your trust rank, because that will increase like the amount of things you can craft at one time. And they have the Adeptal Energy rank, which is how you get your realm currency. Like the higher your comfort level basically in your island, the more realm currency you get every hour, and it accumulates and you gather it and you can turn around and spend it on your stuff. I was actually rather pleased with how nice it is so far. I kind of was like, I wasn't quite expecting like Wildstar or even Final Fantasy 14 level of housing, but I was hoping it would be like above like say SWTOR. And it's actually been pretty nice because you can design some fairly nice stuff, and like you can really get stuff fairly close together. There's still like some limitations and stuff, but you can still design some pretty nice stuff. And like it's only been a couple days. I really need to design more or make some more stuff for the inside of my house, but it's been pretty fun so far.
That's awesome.
So once you've placed something, can you pick it back up, or does it cost to pick it back up? Or
Nope. Yeah, your only limit is like how many points you have to spend to put stuff down. Like you get your trust points for making a certain thing once, and like the higher star a blueprint is, the more points you get it, and that adds to your trust rank. But other than that, you're free to make duplicates of stuff, place stuff, move stuff, pick it back up, rearrange stuff. Animals, at least so far the cats and dogs, because I've only gotten cats and dogs so far, they can be placed outside or inside. And actually I was kind of pleased they actually kind of wander around a little bit. I thought they would just maybe, like, I was afraid they were just going to like sit there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that I wish like would work in the ESO system is like, say you place a mount. Well, the mounts are mostly all animals. I kind of wish they would roam around a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead, they just sit there completely still.
Mm-hmm.
Can you not set the mounts on the wanderer paths? Because you can set
Not-
random NPCs on wander paths.
Maybe? I don't know. Didn't know you could have NPCs wander.
Yeah, it's actually a better system than we had when I did that.
I don't know. I'll have to investigate.
Yeah,
It's really solid.
I have not played much Genshin lately, but now that I have a PS5, that seems like a great time for me to pick it up again.
Yeah, I think they just released the PS5 specific client this week also.
Yep.
Yeah, and actually I have the PS3 client installed currently, and it is freaking the hell out and it won't update. So I'm going to have to uninstall and reinstall.
Well, if you have the PS3 client, that might be part of the
PS4,
problem.
PS4
Okay.
client.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was really confused.
I was like, are you running it on a toaster, Bill?
I mean, sort of. No, sorry, PS4 client. It keeps griping at me, telling me that it can't patch.
Oh, that's weird.
You know, now that it actually uses X to confirm and O to cancel, I might want to actually try it on PS4 because I know that was a problem when it first came out.
I just wish it
fixable.
synchronized with everything else. Like,
Yeah.
if I could play my characters from PC and mobile on the PS5, I would do that a lot more often because, like, it's good with a controller. Freaking Sony.
Yeah. But anyways, it's been really cute. It's been a lot of fun. I can't wait to get more blueprints because everything's been fairly standard so far because some of the fancier stuff costs more currency and I need to save up for it. But it's just been kind of relaxing and going around and whacking trees is therapeutic, I guess. But yeah, it's been nice. It's pretty charming and cute, much like the rest of the game itself. But I have been enjoying it very much this week.
I need to get back and play the game because, like, the last time I played was right after they added the mountain region.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, like, that was sometime last year.
That was November. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know they've been at a pretty regular release cadence of every, like, something comes in every month.
Yeah, it's like every
Wow.
6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's a whole bunch of banners that I've not seen for different champions. I didn't know it's recycled back and it's like Zhang Li now, I think, right?
Yeah, he's up again. But
And I
there's a
happen to
new
luck
character.
into that character. So, like, I feel like it's not worth spending any points on that one.
No, Geo characters and him especially got a heck of a buff. He is one of the absolute best characters in the game right now.
I've already got him. I just don't have any
Oh, you just have.
constellations.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. He's fine at C0 then, yeah.
It's been interesting to see how much content they've added in, and I think a lot of the challenges that we ran into initially of feeling like there wasn't enough to do before we hit our cap is all gone, I would guess, because
Yeah.
there's so much stuff going on.
Yeah, they've had a pretty decent flow of events. Although they started a new one yesterday too, which is kind of it's sort of like the Hypostasis Symphony, where you kind of go into a domain and you can give yourself buffs or debuffs or buff the enemies or whatever, and you get more points and stuff like that. So they've had a better stream of things going on, and there's still the usual dry spells, but I think housing will keep people busy for a while.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of blueprints to get.
Yes, gotta get them all.
I thought that was just a Pokemon thing.
No, that's literally any game with collections in it.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yep.
Pokemon hit upon a winning concept.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not catch 'em all, it's snap 'em all.
Yes.
And in
Oh,
all
right,
of
that
their
came out this weekend.
Oh
in
yeah.
all of their different behaviors.
Yep. Yeah, because just one picture of a particular Pokemon is not sufficient. You need 4.
Okay, we added
Do
it
a
out
lot
to the
of
list because
things.
we're now segued onto Pokemon Snap. So
I'm just saying, it doesn't count as anything special, but let me tell you, Scorbunny sleeping on top of a giant Torterra is adorable.
It's very cute.
Oh,
Also,
that sounds amazing.
also Grookey and Pichu snuggling up with a Torterra.
Yes.
I may have bonked that Torterra in the head with a fluff fruit so he
You
would wake up and I could get a
monster.
picture of him. He just opened his eyes and looked at me. It's fine.
Did he look at you with scorn and disdain?
He did not. Now the Pidgeotto did.
I haven't seen a Pidgeotto. I've seen a Pidgeot.
No, it was a Pidgeot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did not appreciate Pidgeot.
No, the Pidgeot has no time for you. Your nonsense is well beneath his notice.
I've never played Pokemon Snap.
I don't think I played the original. I don't remember it, but this feels like a very different experience of Pokemon Snap.
The N64 was a long time ago.
Yeah, the
It
N64
really
was a
yeah.
long time ago.
I mean, honestly, this feels like a game that would be fantastic in VR.
Uh-huh.
Because, you're riding around in a little vehicle, just, looking around and taking pictures of things. But of all the systems, this is the one that doesn't have VR. So
Yeah, which it is a shame. I do agree with that. It is very fun because the big thing in this game is you are observing Pokemon in their various habitats, and you are trying to catalog their various behaviors and figuring out how to get them to behave in various ways or find hidden Pokemon and getting them to act out is very fun.
getting them to look at you.
Yeah, getting them to look at you because all of your pictures are graded on a scale. How well centered are the Pokemon in this shot? How large are they in the shot? How directly into the camera are they looking? Do you have interesting backgrounds in the shot? Like, have you included like their habitat or something? Are there other Pokemon in the shot? And then each Pokemon has a different score, a different type of shot you can get from 1 stars to 4 stars.
And that's just dependent on different behaviors, like different.
Some of
behaviors
this was in the previous one. Yeah. Like you definitely got scored based on how much they were, whether or not they were looking at you, how centered they were, how much of the shot they took up.
Yeah.
The 4 behaviors thing is new.
The 4 behaviors thing is new, and so you get a score from, like, I've gotten a couple of scores, mostly in the 4,000s, some in the 5,000s, but those are special circumstances.
Yeah, it's hard to break 5,000 points. I've done it a couple of times, but those were very, very good pictures.
Yeah, but what you are mostly doing here is trying to get them in the different poses, because rather than like trying to get your one picture, your 1-star picture from a 3,000 to a 4,000, it's much better points to just get like a 2,000 point picture in 2 stars, and that counts as a entirely separate score for your XP progression.
Yeah, assuming you don't already have a picture in that category. And it's like classes of behavior, because multiple different behaviors for a given Pokemon can be under the same stars. Like I've taken a photo of a new behavior of a Pokemon, and it was in a category that I already had a picture in.
Yeah. But
yeah, so like, if the Pokemon is sleeping, if it's flying, if it's swimming, if it's eating,
if it's burrowing out of the ground.
Yeah. If it's waving at you.
Yep.
Looking curious. Looking curious is a popular one.
What are you doing here in the Safari Zone? And
yeah, there's
like points of interest on the map that you can scan, and usually a couple of them you can like directly interact with to cause something to happen, like the Pokemon burrowing out of the ground. A couple of the others, like I get the impression that once you get to a high enough research level on a zone, there's going to be Pokemon interacting with those things, because I've gotten a request from the professor to snap a picture of whoever is responsible for scorching those fruits, like in the act.
I mean, I've only seen one fire type in that area, but I've only seen them at night.
Yeah, but it's possible, like at a higher research level, maybe
Scorbunny comes out.
Yeah, maybe he, stops in for a snack, or maybe some other Pokemon shows up.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I'm pretty sure the Hoot was just not in the zone in daytime at research level 1.
It is. It's in the tree.
He's just hiding there? Okay.
he's hiding in his hole in the tree facing away from you. You cannot get good points for that.
Yeah, no, by the time I was able to take a picture of him snoozing, I was already at research level 2. But I wasn't sure if I had just not noticed him previous or not. But certainly, you could actually get good shots of the buffalo Pokemon at research level 2, because they're actually like in the middle of the road. Because at research level 1, they're like way, way far away. You get a picture, but it's not real great. Research level 2, you zone in, and there's one like right there looking at you. Because there's that too. The more pictures you take in a zone and like get better pictures, you increase your research level in that zone, and at higher research levels, like different Pokemon like do different things and have different paths and all this stuff. So
and this feels
it's very complex.
It feels much more like a proper Pokemon game. You've got a professor and you've got a rival. What more do you need in a Pokemon game?
And the rival is in fact a jerk this time.
Yeah, he is.
We've gotten used to the rival being just kind of, a cheerful doofus. No, this one's kind of a jerk. We'll see what he's like going on, but his initial interaction is, "Hey, get your own mentor."
Classy.
Whatever. My mentor is clearly the professor. I guess Rita would probably disagree with that statement. I don't need a mentor. Push off, kid.
And I only played a very little bit of the original Pokemon Snap, but I'm guessing that Todd is meant to be the protagonist from that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Todd is the protagonist from that. That's the impression that I get.
Todd was a photographer from the anime.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
He is also the main character in the Pokemon Snap.
Yep,
okay.
There you go. But yeah, so
That
he shows
makes sense.
up.
Game is very fun to play with kids as well, because it's not like there's a failure state.
No. Like, you could literally just sit there and not do anything through an entire zone, and you would just, slowly travel from the start to the end of the zone and then zone out.
And then if you press any buttons, you get to look at some photos at the end.
Yeah.
But trying to get good shots, surprisingly difficult.
Yeah. There's, I'm pretty sure that, a big part of this game is going to be kind of memorizing the Pokemon behaviors that occur at different in zones at research levels so that you can be prepared on your next time through to get the shot you're looking for. Because some of them move real fast. I wonder if we'll be getting any of the other items from the original Pokemon Snap. Because in addition to Apple, the fluff fruit that had a flute that could make them dance and pester balls to flush them out of hiding.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that one.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. My son has enjoyed watching it a little bit and has played a little bit and took a few pictures. And he's still getting the hang of proper use of the analog stick. He tends to take it all the way to the gate and just zoom around all over the place.
Well, I take it all the way to the gate myself because I feel like this has not high enough sensitivity.
I mean, you can adjust that.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, at least a little bit in the settings. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It feels like trying to track certain Pokemon, my speed was not fast enough. I should.
Yeah, the initial sensitivity seems a little low. Oh, and it does have motion controls. If you're playing it in
handheld mode.
In handheld mode, and you can use the motion controls plus the stick to move extra quickly.
Oh, should try that.
This sounds like Bugsnax minus intense, weird body horror storytelling.
Yeah, maybe.
Which I will continue to advocate for Bugsnax because it was great, but I like having more games of the type where you just wander around and watch cute things, do cute things, and maybe interact with them a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe throw an apple at them, see what happens.
Maybe they are an apple.
I will say using the motion controls seems like a good way to make yourself dizzy. I found myself spinning in circles quite a bit, trying to find the Pokemon and keep up with them. So,
another game that came out this week is a game that currently is exclusive to the PlayStation 5. And a lot of people, myself included, have been kind of lamenting the fact that there really isn't a solid reason that is a PS5 only reason to have that console yet.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have been playing my way through some Demon Souls, and that game's amazing. And
yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's a remake though.
Yeah, but it's an important remake.
I mean, like, it's a great improvement on the original. Like, I have the original as well.
Yeah, and I've played the original, and the original was good to a point, but then wasn't. Like,
but Returnal is like the first game that is out of whole cloth, brand new, that is exclusive, that I think might sell consoles. So Returnal is a game by House Marquee, which they've done a bunch of different things in different genres. Like, they did the Super Stardust games. They did Resogun.
Wait, did they make Super Stardust?
They made Super Stardust, yeah.
Huh.
I don't know that one.
Resogun is amazing on the PS4. Like,
Resogun was possibly the best PS4 launch title.
I've logged a ton of hours on that game, but like, they've got a wild array of different titles. Like, I've specifically rattled off
particle
shooters.
effects?
Yeah, do you like particle effects? Do you like things that are going to fly at your character? So Returnal is this blend of a roguelite kind of style of Hades mixed with Metroidvania elements, mixed with Nier Automata.
Which parts of these?
So the game is, you are a female astronaut character from some sort of organization that we don't know a lot about yet. And you are landing on this planet, even though you have been forbidden to land on this planet because it's a dangerous zone. Okay. So you crash land on this planet. And one of the first things you do is find your own corpse. You're stuck in a time loop that began when you entered the atmosphere of the planet. So every time you die, it resets back to you crashing, and you're on the planet, and you have to basically make your way through the loop to figure out how to, I guess, stop the loop.
So you can finally die for real?
So you can finally die for real, I guess. It's also got some Dark Soulsian aspects in that health regeneration is very limited, and if you rest on your ship, it resets the area. Metroidvania, in that there are certain areas that end up getting locked out if you don't have specific equipment that you find that persists through deaths. So like, one of the first things is you find a piece of alien tech that like bonds to your suit and allows you to use teleporters, which opens waypoints, and it also opens like specific in-arena point-to-point teleportation. There's one that I think I'm tracking down that allows me to bust through like energy shield walls. I have not found that one yet. I am guessing there is some equivalent of a hook shot or a grappling hook or something like that, because like, there are these targets that very obviously are targets, and they're always on raised platforms that you can't dash jump to. So like, one of the first things that you find is you can basically dash, and dashing gives you iframes, and it allows you to avoid the bullet hell shooter Nier Automata attacks that some of the enemies do. In fact, most of them do some form of that kind of attack. Like, they will spray out some kind of an orb pattern in front of them, and you can either get on a different Z-plane, or dodge through it, or jump over it and dash. You have, at the start, you just have like a sidearm, and picking up pieces of tech increases your weapon proficiency so that you start getting more and more powerful drops for weapons. But the weapons all do weird things. So like, one of the first things that unlocks that persists from loops is the ability to do alt fires. And then every weapon from that point on has some sort of an alt fire that charges up over time. So it could be that like, your weapon fires out a fan of bouncing projectiles in front of you, kind of like the enemies do. Or your weapon does AoE lightning damage so that you can target a lot of things all at once. Or every one of your rounds ricochets just by default now. So there's all kinds of weird affixes on the weapons. There are different types of weapons. There's an assault rifle kind of thing. There's a shotgun. There's the pistol. There's another one that I've seen but I've never picked up because at that time I had an assault rifle. You basically you can only carry one weapon at a time. So if you pick something up, you have to drop the thing you had. There are weird parasites that attach to your suit, and the parasites give you some kind of positive effect, but also a negative effect at the same time. So I had one that made my integrity, which is basically health, your suit integrity, regenerate slowly over time. But every time I picked up an artifact or a weapon, it damaged me.
Oh.
So it's cool that I slowly regenerate health, but also I'm going to take damage anytime I gain a beneficial effect. There's corrupted objects, so you're kind of rolling the dice if you try and use one of those. You can cleanse those objects with this currency called ether, but so far in my playthrough, I have only found 6 ether, and it persists between loops. So using 3 to cleanse an object doesn't seem like a great gamble, because it's going to be something that only persists for that turn. Yeah. So there's a combination of things that persist across all loops and things that persist only for the run you're on. And I'm not sure how many things eventually will persist permanently, but you'll find an object in the world and you have to take it to a specific shrine. And if you take that thing to that specific shrine, you unlock some boon from that point on. So you get more weapon leech, or something does a specific effect that persists over time. The only hard part about it is that there's not a lot of incremental improvement between loops. You learn things, because the world is really well marked what is interactable, but you'll encounter things there are these strangle vines that if you get too close to them, they will lift you up in the air. Well, if you time your dash just right, you can use them you're taking a little bit of damage while you're in them, but you can also use them to get up to higher platforms and stuff. So you're basically trading health for, access to something you wouldn't normally have access to. Or, you can just avoid them. Now that you know what they are, you can just straight up walk around them. And a lot of the enemy types have predictable patterns of attack that the more you encounter them, the more used to those attacks you get. And there's a mechanic called adrenaline, in that if you don't take damage, every time you kill an enemy without taking damage, it ends up stacking this buff up to 5, and the buff ends up causing you to deal more damage. So you want to keep that adrenaline buff going as long as you can. So you're trying really hard not to get hit, because the second you get hit, it goes back to 0 again.
I was going to say, that sounds like it leads to some sort of cascade failure.
Yep, it goes back to 0. The second you get hit, it goes back to 0.
Leaving you less able to kill enemies, and therefore you get hit more, and so on and so forth.
Yep. If you ever get stuck, you can go back to your ship and sleep, and it will reset the world, and all of the connection points in the world go back to randomized. But calling this randomized is a bit incorrect. So there are there are a number of prefabs that I keep seeing over and over and over. So, like, there's probably a fixed number of corridors, and then the corridors link up to fixed destinations that appear to be in that biome every time you go into it. So, like, there's this one cliff that I have seen in every single playthrough somewhere, and the cliff has one of those hookshot markers on the other side, and you have a sonar ping device. If you hit right 3, it basically puts out a ping and allows you to see, like, whether or not there's a floor below you, or, you know, you basically get the topography of your area. And when I did that, it looked like there was just a sequence of those pillars, to where each pillar was slightly higher than the previous, or the previous one, so that you'd have to hookshot your way across that gap. So that must be gating something, because I don't have the hookshot yet. There's another area that if you see this specific shield, it will give you a quest marker saying you need to find an item to get through that shield. But, like, that area has been in every single loop that I've been through. So, and then the individual corridors that connect up those features seem to be similar to each other, but, like, they're randomized. So, like, probably there's a fixed number of layouts, and then there's a random number of encounters that happen in that layout structure. It is interesting. Like, it is really interesting. It does a good job of messaging what you should and should not care about. Because there's a lot of just, like, you know, weird stuff in the background. But, like, if it's something you should care about, it is going to glow and it's going to be marked on your minimap. It does a better job of 3D topography on your minimap than a lot of things do. You know,
so,
like, if you
better than Nier Automata, but not as good as Fallen Order.
I would say it's better than Fallen Order.
Oh.
I would say it's better than Fallen Order in allowing you to see how everything connects.
Wow.
It's got a really good 3D map system. The only thing that, like, the immediate thing that I was not expecting is, like, when you see a game that is aligned as a bunch of corridors with doorways, you know, bisecting those corridors, you think, oh, well, if I get in trouble in this room, I can retreat back to the previous room. If you have aggroed something, they will just follow you indefinitely. They are not going to, they will teleport straight through that barrier and come after you. So, like, but the thing is you can use the terrain as a way to block projectiles. I've heard late in the game, you start to encounter projectiles that you can't dodge through. But at least in the beginning, you can iframe your way through a lot of the projectiles. But what gets really damaging is if you've got, like, a room with 6 creatures and they're all attacking you at the same time, and they're all in different quadrants of the room. It's real easy to, you know, get Venn diagrammed by all the things arriving at once. But, like, I don't know, there's something about it. Like, I am not the biggest fan of Dark Souls games, and I am not the biggest fan of roguelikes, but there's something mechanically about the way that this game works. And the female protagonist is really interesting. As you're going through the game, you're uncovering more ship's logs of her previous times through. I guess, like, my theory is by the time you're done, you're going to start piecing together what exactly is going on. Because, like, in the middle of one, like, the first area, there's just, like, what looks like her childhood home sitting in the middle of this planet. So, like, it's obviously reading her mind and adjusting to her as she goes through. So I don't know what that's about. And, like, the door is locked. So maybe at some point you can unlock the door and go inside the house. I don't know. It's a weird game, but it's a good game. The only complaint that I really have is once you start a run, there's no way to exit and return to the game. So, like, once you're in a run, you're in that run until you die, or you just in the run. So, a complete run through the game is probably several hours long once you know what you're doing.
That's not great.
Yeah.
There's got to be some way to, like, pause, right? Pause and exit.
You can pause and just, like, leave it running in the background on your PS5.
Can you put it in? Can you put the? I mean, I assume you can put the PS5 to sleep, but something basic like what Hades gives you, where you can do something else.
You can leave, like, every room.
Well, you can return to, like, a suspended state, but that's all, like, PS5 magic happening. There's not a construct in the game to suspend the game.
That's awkward.
Yeah, like, I feel like that's a thing that needs to happen, because, like, right now, I can only really handle playing for an hour or so at a time, and, like, however many runs that gets me. Like, I've not even made it past the first area. I am still in the, that's what that does phase.
Yeah.
Where I'm learning things, learning pitfalls. But, like, it's hectic enough with the movement. Because, like, you have to be really, it's one of those games where you want to never stop moving. And a lot of times it's not just that you're moving, but you're also dashing around to avoid things, or dashing between platforms. So, like, it's kind of frenetic. So I can really only handle so much of it in one setting, but it's enjoyable enough that I've returned for several settings. I definitely think this is an Ash game. I think it might be a Kodra game. I am not sure if it's a TAM game. The movement is the part that makes me think it might be a TAM game. I don't know. It's essentially a third-person shooter. There seems to be some kind of multiplayer element, but I don't know what the hell's going on there. Because I am getting notifications from the game talking about things that my friends have unlocked. And I don't know if that's just a FOMO trigger they're trying to get, or if it actually means something when that happens, but I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. It's a cool game. Like, I would think it was a cooler game if it was, like, a slightly cheaper game, because, like, it's a full price game. But it has this really interesting atmosphere to it.
It seems like it took a little longer than the PS4 did, but, like, we're starting to get some really solid stuff on PS5. And I thought the PS5 launch was not bad.
I mean, here's the thing: is, like, realistically, if you have a PS5, you're probably playing a bunch of games that you could have played on the PS4, but you're playing them better on the PS5. Because I think there's only 5 games that are unique to the PS5 currently, and this is one of them.
Wait, there are 5 games that are unique to the PS5?
I think so. I think I remember that. Either that or... No, I don't know if it's 5 yet. I know Ratchet & Clank comes out in June.
Sure, but that's not out yet.
I don't know. Let me look it up. I wrote about it on Friday. No, there's 4 games currently. Astro's Playroom, Demon's Souls Reboot, Destruction All-Stars, and Returnal. Only one
Destruction All-Stars was on PC.
I don't think it is. I think it's exclusive to PS4 or PS5.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. And of those, 2 of those were free, and Demon's Souls is a normal purchase game, and Returnal is a normal purchase game. And when Ratchet & Clank lands on June 11th, there will be 5.
Ratchet & Clank looks gorgeous.
It's, like, realistically, it's the main reason why I wanted a PS5. I just didn't know when it was going to come out.
I should probably try and play other Ratchet & Clank games, I guess. I never played these.
I think they were giving away the PS4 port of the first Ratchet & Clank game. I think it was just free if you had a PS5.
I might check that out.
The PS4 remake of Ratchet & Clank?
Yeah, the PS4 remake. It is amazing. It is super good.
It is not the best game in the series, but it is pretty good.
Really, I mean, like, that port was real good.
Yes, it was. It was a lot better than the original.
Yep. I had a lot of fun playing it.
I played one, but I didn't have any context for what was going on. Like, I don't remember which Ratchet and Clank game I played, but it was like, oh, this is a really great platformer. Also, I have no idea what's going on or who any of these people are, but I seem to be expected to know them.
You probably played the second one then?
Either the second one or the third one do not introduce any characters whatsoever, because they assume that you know what's going on.
I did not.
Actually, all of the PS2 ones, other than the first one, basically don't introduce any characters.
I mean, it was probably a bad bet, but they were also really high-selling games.
They sure were.
Look, if you want to know who these characters are, go buy the original game and play it.
I think it was it Tools of Destruction?
Tools of Destruction was a reboot of sorts.
Or...
So that introduced new characters.
I'm trying to figure out which ones what I played.
When Tools of Destruction was on the PS...
The first PS3 one.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
It's okay.
Ratchet
it's better than the later
favorite.
PS2 one, and also the last PS3 one, but not as good as the better PS2 ones.
I mean, the second game was probably my favorite.
The third was my favorite.
Into the Nexus. That's the one that I played. Boy,
you'd be so lost. That said, this one's a sequel to that, so maybe, I don't know.
I mean, they keep telling me it's a good place to start.
I hope so.
Don't know if that's true, but...
But it's definitely setting up after the events of Into the Nexus, which is probably fine. It's probably a fine place to start, because Into the Nexus was a conclusion of sorts.
I mean, it's this... Like, Ratchet and Clank is this great mix of third-person shooter and platformer, with really weird and interesting weapons. I am a fan. I will probably always be a fan.
I mean, as far as I can tell, this new one is the story of some kind of bipedal cat finding his lost robot husband, and I'm basically here for it. Like, I don't really know that I need more than that.
I mean, Ratchet and Clank are a power couple.
I mean,
okay. Star Trek Discovery. So I have only ever watched the first season.
So I think I've commented. We were talking like not that long ago, and I've mentioned a number of times that like I grew up on Star Trek, and like in a lot of ways, Star Trek shapes like how I think about the world and technology and people's place in it. And it's really, really hard to share that with people if they're not at all familiar with Star Trek, because like, what do you show people? Do you show people the original series? Because that like the original series, you got to cast your mind real far back for the original series to look even a little bit progressive.
Like maybe a few specific episodes, and even then, like it's still a show from, over 50 years ago.
It was progressive for the time.
Yeah.
Right. And like, honestly, Next Generation is kind of that too.
It is. It
like,
really is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good there, but a lot of the best stuff that the Next Generation is doing is like it you need to know the characters for the moments to really land. Like, I still think that the Next Generation has one of the best 2-part episodes ever, but also to be able to watch either of them, you really have to know all of the characters.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to get there. And like, to some extent, what's being commented on isn't that relevant anymore. Or it's, in some cases it's like hopelessly naive because the world has changed or whatever. I mean, I still think Darmok is one of the most prescient pieces of fiction ever created, but
yep.
But then it's like, okay, so Deep Space Nine, but that's a very different show.
It is also my favorite of Star Trek.
I mean, it's still very much Star Trek, but it's a different style of Star Trek, and yeah,
it kind of felt like, for me, it was like, oh, this is Star Trek does Star Wars.
Yeah, and like Star Wars is good, but Star Wars is not where I'm going for. Like, Star Wars is not aspirational.
Yeah,
and I always felt like I didn't watch a lot of DS9, but like DS9 it did feel more like Star Wars, but because it felt like more like Star Wars, it felt less aspirational. It was more like action and cool. And Voyager is an interesting story, but boy, is it weird.
It is the most uneven of the Star Treks.
Oh, yes.
Like, there are some magical episodes of that show, but there's also some just batshit episodes of that show.
There's also, some salamander babies.
Yes. There's also some like problematic episodes of that show.
Yeah. Like Voyager could be amazing, but also probably the single worst episode of any Star Trek ever is an episode of Voyager. So
yeah. Well, and because Voyager is, in a lot of places, it works really well, but in a bunch of other places, it is squarely in that media, that part of the like late 90s 2000s media landscape where a lot of types of media were trying to be progressive and getting it painfully wrong. And I never watched Enterprise, but I didn't hear great things.
I didn't love it, but it was okay.
But we picked up, my fiance and I sat down a week ago and started watching Discovery because it was like, oh, this takes place before Kirk. And she was like, okay, cool. Like, maybe this is a starting point that I can get into. I don't know why I'd heard that it wasn't that great, but we got really hooked on it.
I think part of the problem was when it first came out, I was completely unclear of where it fit into the series.
I think that was a problem a lot of people had, especially since we've had two separate competing timelines for a while and everything with that.
Yeah.
And also it has really weird Klingons.
I mean, whatever. Klingons have different makeup every single show. Sometimes multiple different sets of makeup in the same show. That just washes over me at this point.
I mean, they had to come up with a way to have Klingons that could reasonably be precursors to original series Klingons and not just be guys who were communist stand-ins.
Yeah.
Except for they're really weird religious zealot Klingons. But like not in the way that you would expect Klingons to be religious zealots.
And I think that part of what kept me away from Discovery initially was that what I had heard about it, because I'd only really heard about it when it first came out, was like, oh, this takes place during the Klingon Federation War. I'm like, do I really want Star Trek as a war show? That doesn't sound like the Star Trek I like. And boy, am I wrong about that. I think I've commented that, Star Trek is about idealism in a lot of ways and like principles. And, some of the best Star Trek is when those principles are tested. And like Discovery is very much about that. It's good. And at least judging from my fiance's experience, like it's actually a good place to start. And it's a modern TV show. So it's using all of the like, TV Renaissance stuff like direction and so forth that's made other shows good, as well as a healthy dose of absolute techno nonsense that I associate with Star Trek.
Right.
But that's part of it. That's part of the fun. Like, what's this ridiculous thing that's happening? No, that's fine. Let's just roll with it.
Let's just roll with it. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
I also love the cast. Like, I don't think I've liked a cast this much since The Next Generation. It's fun to delve into Star Trek again and not feel like I'm diving back 30 years or more. But it still feels like Star Trek. It feels right. And it feels right. It feels right in the same way that the Lower Decks feels right, which I was not another Star Trek show I was not expecting to like, but like that one's also great.
Yeah, the way it was initially described, like this does not appeal to me at all. But then everything I've heard about like individual episodes since then sounds great.
I was like, wait, the person, it's like Star Trek as done by the Rick and Morty people. Like,
That sounds like the least appealing thing ever.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I watch it, and it's like, wow, it's incredibly loyal to Star Trek.
Yeah. This is a Star Trek show that realizes that the true hero of the entire, like, of everything is Chief O'Brien.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like that one is a little bit more cynical, though. Like,
Then Discovery?
well, so again, then like some of the older stuff.
Oh, yes. No, absolutely true. And the older
Like-
stuff could be cynical too, but like more in a different, lighter way.
I mean, it was that era's version of cynical. Like,
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels a lot, and again, based on my understanding, it feels a lot less it's a lot less polished, but it also feels in many ways more like, yeah, like things are better thanks to the Federation, but there's still like there is still stuff that goes on that could be improved.
Yeah. And everybody involved is still people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things that, I mean, I don't know, it never really bothered me because I'm able to suspend my disbelief. But one of the issues with the original series and early Next Generation is, like, it's kind of a little, like, the way Kirk paints the Federation and how just incredibly good and utterly utopian it is somewhat unbelievable.
I mean, Picard also paints it this way.
Right, especially in those first couple of seasons, because this was Roddenberry. Like, that's Roddenberry wanted, like, he famously did not want the bridge crew of the Next Generation to have any conflict with each other whatsoever. Like, that was the level of, like, everybody's, yeah.
And that's always been my problem with Trek. Like, I enjoy watching Trek, but like, Star Trek to me has always been a delightful fairy tale that could never exist.
Well, and I think one of the thing about things like Discovery and Enterprise in particular take place, prior to the original series, and paint in some more of that area is
it's like how you get there.
Yeah, we get to see how you get there, and we also get to, and also like maybe Kirk was being a little bit like painting it a little bit too optimistic. Like maybe the Federation does still have its problems. Like, yeah, this is the viewpoint of a man who is, fully on board with the Federation and thinks it's the greatest thing ever. So yeah, he thinks that everything's perfect, but it's not perfect. It's really good, and they're working at things, but it's, it still has its flaws, and that's fine.
Yeah, and for me, Star Trek was the future that I wanted to aim for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the other thing about Trek for me is that it's kind of competence porn. It's like,
yeah, Next Generation in particular was very much that.
Yeah, well, and it's something that like even the lower decks captures.
Yeah,
like the people are not good at everything, but the thing they're good at, they're really good at because they're really well trained. So like you put somebody in their element and they just do the thing. Like there's no questions there.
Yeah. Like when a character is having, the times that a character is not super amazing at something is because that's not the thing that they do. Like that's not their job, or that it's just some other element. Like Geordi is a brilliant engineer. Like you never see an episode like having him fail at being an engineer. You see episodes, having him fail at understanding how romantic relationships are supposed to work, and things like that. But,
Yeah. Well, and that's, or if you do end up with somebody, I mean, and there's a Lower Decks episode that captures this super well. Like when there is somebody who's like actively bad at what they're doing, it's it's like worthy of comment.
Yeah.
We have a whole episode about that, and it's weird. They're like, wait a second.
Or you get somebody like Barclay who admittedly kind of started as like as a character, as a comedic character almost, but like even it's not that he's not good at what he does, it's that he needs to be in his proper element, and like he's got some personality issues, but once he gets past that, you see him show up in Voyager and he's doing great. He's found his place.
Yeah.
I need to finish watching Lower Decks. I think I'm on episode 4 right now.
It's a lot of fun. We just finished that one, and we just finished it and then jumped into Discovery. And Discovery is really good. I
think I want to watch. I think I'm going to watch Discovery. That sounds interesting to me. I will say I feel like Picard might be a little bit too specifically focused on telling that story, which doesn't, like, based on what I've seen, does not necessarily feel like a Star Trek story.
Yeah, I enjoyed Picard a lot, but yeah, I would agree. It is not an aspirational story. It is more, honestly, the series I would compare Picard to is Farscape.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean,
which I also like. Farscape was one of my all-time favorite science fiction shows. So, like, that makes sense that I would like this, but yeah.
I'm curious because I have heard people compare Discovery to it. Has anyone here watched Orville?
I have not watched Orville, but I've heard it's great. It is. I have heard it compared to, God, what's the Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman?
Oh, Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest.
I love Galaxy Quest.
I have heard it compared to Galaxy Quest in that it's supposed to be a parody, but it ends up being like one of the best sci-fi shows in its own right.
No, I loved Galaxy Quest. It was hilarious, but yeah, no, it was definitely a weird movie.
Galaxy Quest was amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
Galaxy Quest was great.
You want me to fly closer? I loved it. That moment.
I should find the Orville. I haven't seen that.
Like, yeah, everything I've heard about it is that once it found its footing and like dialed in the appropriate level of parody, like it's just brilliant. Like it's something. It's making fun of Star Trek, but from someone who really loves and understands Star Trek and knows exactly what things to kind of poke at a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Star Trek makes fun of itself.
Yeah.
Like sometimes in some incredibly self-aware, like where in some incredibly like character self-aware ways. Like there's absolutely points that I remember in Next Generation where like serious Captain Picard is like a clown and like that's the whole the episode is about making Picard look silly and laughing at him, and like it works because it's like the utopian future doesn't need to be humorless.
I see.
Okay, Kodra.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna use that as a segue. ESO pugging.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wondering like what can I do as far as dungeon content in an ESO, and I could do duo dungeon content with me and Tam. It was quite amusing, actually. So I was like, all right, let me just start pugging along and seeing what it's like to do this in a group. And it's pretty chill. I'm not getting into veteran yet, but I am really enjoying being able to play ostensibly a healer. Like, I've got enough healing buttons to keep everyone alive, even when some significant damage comes out, while also being a two-handed barbarian.
Look, two-handed warden is a really great spec, and it's very versatile.
Yeah, it's very
I am
fun.
playing it as pure DPS. Kodra's playing it as a healer.
You could theoretically play it as a tank, I'm sure. You probably
could.
Playing Ice Staff Warden as a tank.
I mean, Ice Staff is a thing that a lot of tanks use. There's a lot of really great Ice Staff abilities that are tanky.
But the ability for everyone to get access to Vigor, which is a stamina-based heal over time, and then my ability to have a couple of big heals that are tied to stamina, just lets me be a healer in these dungeons, and it's very fun.
That's one of my favorite things about the class design of ESO is that basically, like, you can take any class and skew it magicka or stamina or blend of both, and there's a workable path.
I don't know what you're doing blending both of them. That's kind of my one...
Putting all of your points into vitality and using both of them as a tank.
Yep.
Oh, sure. No. That makes sense. But I don't necessarily know what, like, non-tanky class is blending both.
There's a couple Sork builds that I've seen that have a little of both.
Like stamina primary builds that need enough magicka to do some specific thing.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I like my build.
I guess that makes sense.
I'm just using my magicka for my pets and my...
do you just need enough magicka to be able to cast the summon spell?
Yeah, and every so often...
And to be able to use the button that accompanies it, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, all I do with magicka as a tank is heal. Like, my synth...
Is it Green Dragon's Blood?
Green Dragon's Blood, yes. It is the correct choice for heal spells as a Dragonite. Like, I don't think the other morph ever gets used.
Why would it?
But, like, I really like that in that, okay, I want to be magicka or I want to be stamina, and now I'm going to skew that class and the morphs to fit that purpose that I want to take the class into.
I am going to probably start to try and do some veterans soon on my tank and see how that goes, and I'll report back, but this game feels pretty approachable from the group content perspective.
Well, and one of the things that makes what you're doing right now really approachable is the fact that when people want set gear, it does not matter what quality of set gear they get. So sure, you're more likely to get already legendary items out of veteran content. But for most purposes, the green version of something works just as well.
Yeah, the only thing that I obviously have to caveat is I'm not 160 CP, so I still need to level that all up.
Right. But once you get to 160, any piece of gear of a specific set is going to work fine for you.
Yep.
And there's always like a crafted route as well. Like, I've not done the dungeon route on any of my characters. So basically, for most builds, this is the path if you only have access to crafted gear. This is the path if you've got access to, like, normal dungeon gear. And then this is what you want to go for if you've got access to veterans and trials and all the best gear. And they're all three workable. It's just each one is slightly better and more efficient than the previous one. Like, I love the gear design of ESO. It's great. And I like the fact that, like Guild Wars 2, like, once you've hit 160, you're building a forever set of gear.
Yeah.
Or at least until you decide to change up your spec.
I also have gone and done a little bit of the PvP because there are daily rewards for it.
PvP, from what I've heard, is actually really kind of fun in the game.
It's a little bit of a capture the flag thing.
I mean, I've done some of the PvP in ESO. Assuming you're talking about the Alliance War stuff.
Well, I'm specifically talking about the new Battlefronts that they've put in, or Battlegrounds.
Right, I haven't done any of those.
Heck they call them. Yeah, like, it's more skirmish-based. So it's far less running all over the map. But the dailies are actually kind of good rewards.
But yeah, no, I'm continuing to play this. I'm continuing to delve into systems. Seems like, I don't know, I think I had they've changed the game a lot, and I kind of got a little bit shocked by my initial approach. And it's also the Guild Wars 2 thing. I'm pretty sure some of it is the game is a lot easier now, and some of it is I'm just more approachable to games that are less like WoW.
Yeah.
So there's some of both, but also you're probably just better at the game now also.
Probably.
Well, in the one Tamriel patch ended up helping a lot, I think, because it basically made every bit of the game relevant and evergreen. Like, every zone drops something that someone might want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and inside of the zones, it's laid out in a structured manner. So, like, these pieces of armor come from delves. These pieces come from boss fights. These come from, anchors in the zone. So you can kind of be more structured in what you're looking for. But the end result is, like, it feels like everything is active all the time. There's been very few things that I've tried to do that there hasn't already been, like, people trying to do it as well.
Yeah, just because, I mean, that's kind of also a benefit of the mega server, right? Like,
right.
You don't
a lot of times, if you just set foot in, like, a public dungeon, there's going to be someone in there also doing the thing, and inevitably, if you're a tank, people just start randomly following you around.
This also happens if you're a werewolf.
I can pretty much solo all the public dungeons.
Every so often, a boss will catch me.
Usually my issue there is a mechanic happened and I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
The ones I struggle with, though, are just simply because I'm a tank and I'm not dealing enough damage. So there's a couple of things that are like, this thing happens and it spawns some totems, and now you have to DPS down the totems, or it's just going to keep healing itself back up. Those are ones I struggle with because I need just numbers to help me pop the totems.
Yeah, I also feel like different zones are differently calibrated in difficulty.
Well,
this is true to some extent. Like the zone that went in with the Thieves Guild, I want to say, is somewhat more difficult than the average zone that was in the base game.
I think that's true in general with a lot of the expansion zones. They maybe got a little harder. Like world bosses in Clockwork City are way harder than world bosses in the old world. Like the Minotaur in the Assassin's Guild zone is
that's the one I was thinking of, really
freaking hard. And that's a daily boss.
Yes.
A daily boss?
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, so once you get into the
expansion, there's a chance to drop the style for the set.
Yep. Once you get into the expansion zones, you're going to start getting factional dailies. And usually there's like a boss, a delve, an anchor that you have to do, and it kind of rotates what those objectives look like. But it's always like one of the bosses that you have to fight. I mean, and they're good rewards. Like a lot of times they drop either set pieces or crafting patterns or, stuff that you actually would care to get. Or if you don't care to get, you can sell for decent money. I mean, the economy has stayed really active too, and that's another thing that's impressed me. For such a weird economy, the fact that there's no unified auction house, the fact that you have to have trade-specific guilds that spend tons of money bidding on traders, and like it's shocking how fast stuff moves. I mean, I have a bunch of add-ons that help me with pricing and that sort of stuff, but
is there any add-ons to be like, hey, let's comb through what all of the various guild traders are doing, so I can travel to find the thing I want?
Yes, sort of.
So you know how there's not in that market?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Tamriel Trade Center.
Yep, Tamriel Trade Center will tell you. It will tell you where something's priced a certain way, when the last time it was seen by someone running the add-on. So basically, there's a TSR that comes along with TSR for Terminated State Resident, a system tray thing. I will rephrase that because that term probably doesn't mean anything to any of us that are not programmers.
I was going to say going old school.
Yeah, it's like it's a service that runs in the background that is always updating stuff from the website, and it's also publishing anything you see to the website. And it is pretty widely used. So it will tell you where whatever you're looking for is being sold and the frequency of the last time it was seen. So that allows you to hop over to that area and buy it up. Like you have to be real dedicated if you want to partake in being a flipper, but like people do that thing. I did that thing.
Because somebody can buy someplace where it is low and go sell someplace where it is higher.
Yep. There are certain cities that traditionally have the highest prices.
Freaking Ralka.
Ralka and Mournhold are the two big ones. The reason being, like, the Way Shrine is right there at the traders. So that is the easiest place to go buy from, is those two places. But also, everything there fetches a premium. So, like, an item that may sell for 2,000 in, the Rift, would sell for like 15,000 in Mournhold. But there's a lot of people that specifically go to Mournhold because those are such high volume traders. So sometimes, like, if you're somebody that has access to one of those traders, I mean, you could do some flipping and it will a lot of times move. Like, I don't remember where our trader is right now. I think it's in Solitude, which is not high volume. But stuff still moves. Raw resources is what sells the fastest.
Oh, I bet.
Because a lot of people just are crafting stuff for housing, crafting stuff for, various things. There's a lot of people that don't pay for the crafting bag and are free-to-play players. So they're not keeping a lot of resources on hand. But yeah, it's an interesting game. Like, I'm impressed at how well it's doing. I think that's probably a show, though.
Seems like it.
Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See ya.